Zenni's Blocks lenses help to protect the eyes by keeping harmful blue light out. Because they're virtually clear, add blocks to any Zenni frame for stylish, all-day protection. Get a complete pair of prescription or non-prescription Blocks glasses starting at just $24. Protect your eyes now at Zenni.com.
I'm Bob Sullivan, the new host of AARP's The Perfect Scam podcast. And with Frank Abagnale and other top fraud experts, we're bringing you brand new episodes of America's most shocking scam stories.
I got an email alerting me to 22 accounts that had been opened up in my name.
Scam was masterfully designed.
New episodes available now. Subscribe to the Perfect Scam podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
The following is a Hoop Ball presentation.
Good morning, Hoop Ballers, and welcome back to Hoop Ball's DFS Today, our flagship DFS program. It's been a while, you guys. This is our second episode back in what seems like forever, but it's only been 2 months. It's one of those weird times that it seems like it's been so long, but at the same time, also yesterday. But it's great to be back. I am your host tonight, Santino Caccone, and I am joined for the first time together by the one and only Aaron Asmus. Aaron, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. I'm just excited to be talking about basketball again, and I couldn't agree more. It's one of those situations where it feels like the playoffs were just yesterday, and they kind of were. But you know, I love basketball 24/7, so I'm ready to get into it.
Yeah, it really is one of those weird times when the off season, I guess you can call it, was just felt like it was long, but it went by so fast, and I don't know how to explain how it could be both at once, but that's the feeling I was getting. But it's great to be back. We had Dave and Brenton on last night for yesterday for our first show back, and great. Now we get to tackle the second day of the preseason. But before I get into that, I want to talk quickly about one of our sponsors, one of our great sponsors, and I'm currently playing all the time. I make football bets all the time, and that is MyBookie. I hope you guys feasted on the MyBookie Turkey Day free play. That was Thanksgiving, and then we had a Black Friday deal, and then we had a Cyber Monday deal. But they were pretty much giving you a $250 free bet, and then they had all the odds boost stuff that I believe went 10-1. I bet them all. And then they had a Cyber Monday bet that if you bet Monday, whatever you betted, you got a free bet for the next Monday night football game. So they are doing so much there. And if you didn't get a chance to get to Turkey Day because you don't have a MyBookie account, I don't know if they haven't confirmed it yet, but I am fairly confident that they are going to do something for Christmas. So you're going to want to get onto mybookie.com and definitely enter the promo code HoopBall. That's HOOPBALL. And then they'll match up your deposit halfway, all the way up to $1,000. And the terms are simple. If you put in 200, they'll match you with another 100 in your account. And if you're already planning to bet this NBA season, this is pretty much getting free money. And again, Christmas is around the corner, and these guys at MyBookie love to give these odds boost things. And if you've never enjoyed the odds boost things, you will be in for a Christmas treat. Aaron, have you tried MyBookie? Are you one of the MyBookie guys?
Yeah, so I like to line shop around, just looking for the most competitive lines. And, a lot of the time I do end up on MyBookie. It's really, really easy interface, and I think they most of the time have the most competitive lines. So if you're looking with how difficult sports betting really is to pull a profit, you want to be looking for any edge you can. And from my experience, MyBookie has been one of the better places.
Exactly. And whether you're a first-time customer or you've been playing MyBookie for years, there really is no shortage of value to be found in the thousands of game lines and all the unique prop bets and contests that they offer every week. Just sign up today and get reloaded, find an edge, guys, make your bets, and you get paid. They pay you. So definitely check out MyBookie and enter that promo code HoopBall. All right. And now let's get into something that I know both of us have been yearning for. I know it's the preseason, so it's a little different, but both of us have been yearning for talking a slate again. And again, this is the first time we've been talking a slate together. You were with Mike last during the bubble season, but this is going to be a fun one, man. The first game that we have on our DraftKings slate is Toronto Raptors against the Charlotte Hornets. This one starts at 7 p.m. Eastern time, and there is no line currently. I've been searching, like you said, you like to chop lines. I've been looking everywhere. I could not find a line. There really is not much injury news on the official NBA injury report as well. You kind of have to go searching for that. And as we get closer to game time, and that's what we're going to have to figure out in the preseason, especially in the preseason, you're going to want to be on your toes, because as we get closer to game time, they're going to be just listing out a ton of people that you wouldn't have seen coming, or maybe you have, but You'll get official confirmation. But for on the Toronto side, all we have is Patrick McCaw probably out. I think he might have officially been ruled out, but he's unlikely to play. And Charlotte has nobody listed on their injury report, and I couldn't find anybody that was confirmed out or doubtful at the moment. So we're going to assume right now that Charlotte's full, and Patrick McCaw is the only guy out on Toronto. With that said, let's start with the Raptors. Is there anybody that you like on the Raptors?
Yeah, so I think just to kind of give a general outline of how I want to approach the preseason is that with pricing so truncated, like the most expensive player is Giannis at 9K, who we in a normal slate we pay close to 11 to 12K. That some of these stars are, I just don't think the value is quite there, especially since we can't project for workload, especially in this first game for all these teams. I think most of the rotation guys probably going to be around 25 to 28 minutes, especially for some of these more veteran teams, teams that had a really late run into the postseason bubble. So while I really like Toronto in the regular season, I think their main cogs are going to be absolutely outstanding. I think they're going to play quite a bit faster without Gasol and Ibaka on the floor. I'm not really looking at too many of their expensive guys. Kyle Lowry, he's just a little too expensive for me, 8.3. Pascal, 7.1, kind of the same deal there. Where I'm looking is Chris Boucher down at 4,700. I think he's definitely a top 3 value for me. He's going to be in the rotation already. I think he has it locked down, a 15-minute role regardless. And with everyone kind of playing less minutes in this game, I think he has a real path to probably 20 plus minutes fairly easily. And he's just that guy where anytime you can project a decent workload for him, he's going to be an absolute fantasy point per minute monster. So in terms of Toronto, well, I'm really interested in the regular season. It's just Boucher for me in this first preseason game.
So this is our first one together, and this is we already hit on the mark. The only guy I have on Toronto is actually Bobby Boucher, as I like to call him. And the same reason as what you were mentioning, and it's the preseason that's a little bit different. So we mentioned it a little bit before we came on. If you're in the know and you're doing your research and you're up to date on who's in, who's out, who the beat writers are saying are getting so-and-so minutes and whatnot, you can win in the preseason because other people aren't really doing the research. They're just throwing in, big names. Like you said, Giannis, 9,000, have to play him. And I'll get to why I kind of like Giannis too, but have to play him, and then you're just going to load up on that. But they might not see more than 20 minutes. We'll get to a team later tonight in the last game that already has 2 of their biggest players are capping out at 18 minutes. But here, for Boucher's circumstance, they did bring in Alex Len. They did bring in Aaron Baines. They expect Aaron Baines to start at center. But in the preseason, I can't expect a 35, 36-year-old Aaron Baines or an injury-prone Alex Len to take too many minutes. Chris Boucher should get at least mid-20s, probably upper 20s. And anytime, as you mentioned, he gets that amount of minutes against a not good Charlotte team as well, he's going to produce a very good line. So I love that, and I love his price tag here. And he is the only guy on this slate currently that I have for Toronto. But like you said, in the regular season, there's a lot to like about this team.
Yeah, and I think it's an important point to reiterate that with preseason, this podcast, we record the night before, and it's up in the early morning, where a lot of the info during the regular season will transfer over to the slate. With preseason especially, you really have to be, looking at, the hoop ball breakers. We have a couple of different Twitter accounts that reports news that you can follow, at hoop ball fantasy, things of that nature. But that's where the real edge is in NBA preseason is, grinding the news from the beat reporters, them saying, oh, Giannis is only going to play the first half tonight. Steph Curry is only going to play 18 minutes. Just situations like that we can't predict when we record this podcast for preseason, is definitely something to keep in mind. And that if you're deciding to play preseason, you just have to be on.
Exactly, and you hit it. We at Hoopball we blurb a lot of this stuff, so we're on our toes and everything. And if you just keep up with the Hoopball Twitter account, Hoopball feed, hoopball.com, all the news, you'll get a good idea of what's going on. And as you said, in the preseason, it's very instrumental in winning. I looked at the lines. I could not find one line for tomorrow night's slate. And as I looked at the injury report, there's I think 4 people total listed, or 6 people total listed, and 4 of them are on the Cavs. So we're going to get a lot of information about an hour and a half before the slate actually starts. And that's good to know. Yep. All right, man. So we pretty much don't have many people on Toronto besides Boucher for this one. How about Charlotte? Is there we have the LaMelo Ball pick. Yep. We have Gordon Hayward's trade sign, whatever you want to call it, sign and trade. We have some nice pieces here, but do you like any of them for this first slate?
Yeah, so I think the Hornets are going to be another team I'm going to be very, very interested in playing against during the regular season. I think with adding LaMelo and Gordon Hayward, kind of 2 really good creators, that I think their offense is actually going to be pretty good. They already had some decent pieces, Devontae Graham, Miles Bridges. Cody Zeller is a decently efficient center. I really like PJ Washington. I think they're going to be a really fast team. I think they're going to be able to score a lot of points, and they're not going to be able to defend a pine cone.
Exactly.
But for this slate, I can't imagine they extend Gordon Hayward past maybe 20 minutes or so. So he's not in play for this first preseason game for me. But LaMelo at 5,100. I think he's the best play on the slate. He's their young guy. He's their new face of the franchise. He might not start the first game, but I would be really surprised if he didn't play the most minutes on the team. Maybe somewhere like 27, 28 minutes. And just the kind of player he is, the way he racks up assists, he's I think he's going to be one of the better rebounding guards in the game. And he's just the way he plays, the way he pushes the pace, and it's going to create more possessions. So, I think LaMelo, especially early in the year, if he's cheap, he's going to be someone I'm going to be on pretty heavily.
I like that. So right now they have him at 5,100. For this slate, I don't know if I want to totally go on him on that. I might be on the opposite end of you. I just want to see where he fits in here. But I do like him from a fantasy perspective and a DFS perspective going forward this year. I think he landed in a good spot. I've kind of been bullish on him. I don't think he's a great player, and that I've been saying I think he's a little overhyped. But landing in Charlotte, he's going to have a lot of opportunity to get the ball in his hands, to create and do a lot of really good things this year. So on that term, I am excited to see him on future slates. This one, I don't mind dabbling with him at 5,100, but there is quite a few point guards that I think point guard and shooting guard, you could find good value in the preseason. So I'm not totally on him. The one guy I do like on here is you mentioned him kind of, PJ Washington. I think he's going to play a lot. He's currently 4,400, and price tags don't really mean too much in the preseason because we're going to find a lot of value anyway. But I think they want to play him at center a lot, and he's going to start at power forward. So I just think they're going to see what he looks like at multiple positions, and I believe Coach B is going to play him about 25, 30 minutes. Maybe that changes, but that's my impression, that he's going to get a good amount of run in that first game at multiple positions and see where he matches up the best with going into the regular season.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's going to be I think it's going to be a sneaky good transition, up tempo, when they put PJ at the 5, Miles Bridges at the 4, and then Hayward, and then either Mello with either Devontae Graham or Rozier on the off guard wing. Like, I think that could be pretty good offensively. I don't know, maybe I'm too bullish on it at the moment, but.
Yeah, then they have a lot of people who can handle the ball. Graham, Rozier, Hayward, Ball. There's a lot of people who can handle the ball on this team. Both Martins could kind of handle the ball too. So it's going to be a fun offense and for DFS and fantasy. And when you expect them not to have a good defense, that means they're just going to be trailing a lot of games and catching up. So it's going to be a fun team to roster this year. And to roster teams against them as well.
Yep.
All right, man. Let's move on to the second game that we have on the slate is the Pacers and the Cavs. And as I mentioned a couple moments ago, this is where a lot of the outs are on the NBA injury report, and there's only a few. But on the Pacers side, we have Brian Bowen, TJ Warren, and Jeremy Lamb. They should not be playing. And then on the Cavs, we have Colin Sexton, Kevin Porter, JaVale McGee, and Chris Matthews already ruled out. We don't know who else is going to be ruled out before game time, but we'll assume that as of now, everybody else is listed as a go. Let's start with the Pacers, who are the away team on this one. Where do you see the minutes? Do you think that like a Sabonis coming off that foot injury? Do you think Oladipo, who's still battling his way back, kind of? Do you think that they're going to play these guys a ton of minutes, or do you think it's going to be more of a reserve time? Because they do also have a new coach, and I'm not going to try and say the name right now, but they have a new coach that they need to learn a new system on, and then with minimal days of training camp ahead of the preseason. So what do you see for the Pacers this first game?
Yeah, I mean they're one of another bubble team. They're primarily a veteran-laden team, not too many young guys that they have looking for developmental minutes. I just don't. I'm just going to kind of go with the overview that these teams that were in the playoff bubble that kind of had a shorter offseason, that this first game or even their second game, that these guys aren't getting close to their normal run. So I think the Pacers kind of fall into that bubble. But with just raw points mattering so much more in the preseason, a guy like Sabonis, who's, again, historically a really awesome fantasy point per minute producer, in this matchup against, Andre Drummond's defense or Kevin Love, he should be able to, even if he only gets 23, 24 minutes, there's a definite shot for him to go for 40 in this matchup. So I don't mind going for a guy like Sabonis in this spot, just because I don't expect anyone's minute ceiling to be that high. So I don't think you're really punting just overall minutes in just about any spot on this slate.
Yeah, and I found myself liking a lot of guards as I went through this slate. So Sabonis was one of the few higher priced bigs that I was okay with. I think that they need to learn how to play in the new system. And last year, Miles Turner and Sabonis never really, the team did well, but they never really meshed together totally. So maybe they want to see the new coach. Again, I'm not going to butcher that name right now on my first one back, but maybe they want to see how they can get them to gel better and play 25 or so minutes together. I have Sabonis as one of the guys I like on this team too, along with both Holiday brothers. We already have TJ Warren out, so Justin should get the start. And they don't really have huge depth behind him, so I think he's going to play a fair amount of minutes as well. And with the other Holiday, there's a big chance that Oladipo doesn't even suit up for this one. I'm just going off a hunch, but they're already talking about what they're doing with back-to-backs with him. This is the first preseason game. Even if he does play, I can't see him playing in the 20s. I probably high teens at most. So I'm going to go in the assumption that Aaron Holiday should get a decent amount of run. And the last guy I would look at is Brogdon. If we don't hear anything and they say he's going to play 25 minutes against Cleveland's backcourt and no Colin Sexton, and he's not a good defender either, but no one behind him is either. So I think he could fill it up quickly. And like you mentioned, we just need people to score on this because we're going to have extra money laying over.
Yeah, I mean, 6,200 is, a lot of people are going to go immediately to Giannis and Luka and all the studs and then fill it in with values. So if you're looking to be unique in tournaments, going more balanced with, a $6,200 Brogdon or a $6,200 Miles Turner, that's a good way to differentiate yourself.
Mm-hmm. All right, man. What about the Cavs side? We mentioned Sexton, Porter, McGee, Matthews. They're all out. And Sexton was their biggest ball handler last year. Drummond kind of came over and didn't really give it his all. It didn't seem like. And Colin Sexton really was just chucking up shots and scoring the ball. Without them there in this first game, where are you looking at on this Cavs team, if you are looking at this Cavs team?
Yeah, I have two guys that really stand out. Drummond. I think he's going to have his kind of be back to where he was earlier last season with the Pistons, where I think he was, for a couple months there, he was probably like a top 5 fantasy player, just the way he was playmaking and just 15 and 15 literally every night. I think he can really get back to that here with Cleveland, new season. There's not much competition behind him for minutes anymore. And again, just I'm looking for guys who can give me 40 in 25 minutes. And the way how quickly Drummond can rack up rebounds and just easy putbacks, that's well within his range of outcomes for just 7,900. And then one of my value plays for Darius Garland with Sexton out, and it's just too cheap. He's a guy that they need to see get run. He needs the developmental time. I think he probably has one of the higher minute ceilings on the slate, just in terms of like a regular rotation player possibly getting into the 30s in minutes. So just for 4,900, I think that's just excellent value.
Awesome. And we are, again, hitting the mark on this one. I like Andre Drummond as well. He was dominant before he went to the Cavs, which is just funny. But when he was on Detroit and they were letting him do Andre Drummond things, he was awesome. I think he should see a good amount of minutes here, closer to normal. Maybe not overdoing it because it is the first preseason game. But if he sees 25 minutes, this guy can grab 12 rebounds and score 14 points with defensive numbers too. So I'm with Andre Drummond there at 7,900. It's not bad at all. Like you said, everybody's price tag's a little depressed, so you're not overpaying for these guys per se. And I like Garland as well. Without Colin Sexton, Garland should have pretty much handle the ball on 80% of the time he's in there. Sometimes they'll run the offense through Kevin Love, but it should mainly be Darius Garland to get him into the swing of things and see what he's got when he's by himself there. And another guy that I'm looking at a little bit, I do like a lot of small forwards out there, but Isaac Okoro, another only 4,500. They're saying his offense looks really good in camp. I think they're just going to throw him out there and let him run. They did take some flack for drafting him as high as they did. So I feel like they're gonna play him a little bit more.
They want to validate it.
Yeah, let him validate it in the preseason, this first game, and let him get out there and show maybe 30 minutes or so. There's not a lot of guys that I see hitting 30 minutes, but the younger guys are the ones that would do it, especially there's no Kevin Porter Jr. to breathing down his neck this game. They're going to need more minutes from some people, and I think it comes there.
Yeah, I think these higher price, just in general for the preseason, these rookies, without an extended training camp, without summer league, that, I think coaches are going to really use the preseason as an opportunity to get all these guys, some playing time, just, probably into the mid-20s, just because that, I think a lot of them are going to definitely struggle once the regular season comes around, and there probably won't be too many opportunities for minutes. So when in doubt, I would lean towards these upper tier rookies as value plays, just because I think their minutes floor and ceiling are some of the best on the slate.
Yeah, and you said it. There was no summer league. There was barely a training camp. It was what, a week or so, maybe less than 10 days. Now we're just getting right into the preseason, and that's coming off of a under 80-day layoff. So we are just, everything's accelerated now. You didn't get to see anybody. The coaches, new schemes, new old people coming off injuries, et cetera, et cetera. You didn't get the normal off season to work with everybody and see all that progression and all this stuff. So a lot of these teams are running blind, and a lot, we don't expect the veterans to play so many minutes right out of the gate, but the rookies can, and the young guys could, especially the guys that came into camp hungry, in shape, and ready to go. Someone's got to play these minutes, and it's going to fall onto these younger guys to pretty much be a quasi summer league for them.
Yep, agreed.
Awesome. So let's hit on this third game here. We have the last game that's going to be started at 7 p.m. Eastern time, and this the Oklahoma City Thunder against the San Antonio Spurs. And the Thunder have a laundry list of outs for this one that I found out on the Thunder's the page. But Al Horford, Dort, Baisley, Justin Jackson, Darius Miller, Ty Jerome, Josh Hall, Trevor Ariza, none of these guys are going to play. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of their guys are not going to play. So even if they wanted to get everybody a little involved, they don't have as much room to play with as everybody else. So their rotation already is dwindled down for this game. But we might even have more people ruled out before game time starts. So you might find extreme value here. But I'll toss it to you. I think we got to start at the top, but I'll toss it to you. What are you looking at if you are looking at anybody from this Thunder team?
Yeah, I think I'll pose a question right back to you with Shai Gilgeous at 5,900. If you're trying to win a tournament, do you think? And I think he's probably going to be the most highest owned player on the slate, because it's just there's just literally nobody else around him, and I think he can easily compete for one of the highest usage opportunity rates on the entire slate. And I think the minutes will be there for him. Maybe not all the way mid-30s, but I think he does have a shot to getting to 30 minutes. Mm-hmm. So I think my question to you is, if you're trying to win a tournament, are you still eating the massive Shai chalk, or do you want to try to pivot elsewhere?
So sometimes you want to pivot so bad that you see the chalk and you know it's coming, but you still want to pivot because you don't want to be with that entire chalk and like you're saying, close to everybody else. But this is one of those times that I don't think I can pivot. It's just even if he was priced at 7,000 or so, there is no, if we get confirmation that he's going to play 28, 30 minutes or so, even 25 there's literally no one on this team is playing. Like, no, he's going to be he's going to have extreme usage regardless of all the people I listed playing or not. But when they're not playing, it's just he might have 40+% usage in this game when he's on the court, and that's very hard to pass up for me, and I don't think I could do it. And I doubt I will do it. I made a couple lineups before, and he wound up. I like a lot of guards, as I mentioned before, but he kept winding up in there. It's just too hard to pass up on a guy who's playing by himself pretty much. Yeah,
so I agree. I think that's important to note if you're building some tournament lineups, that if you're including Shai, you're going to be with probably 50 to 60% of the field you're in playing Shai. So think about that with your roster construction. Mm-hmm. That there are ways to make unique Shai lineups that you don't have to go completely off the board if you include him in, but you want to try to solo win tournaments if you can. Yep. So when you're building with a massive chalk guy like Shai, that has to be in the forefront of your mind when building that team.
And I think he's a given for cash lineups. Right. There's no way to not play him in cash lineups, because even if you are with most of the field there, you want to just not lose. You don't want to lose those easy points.
Right. You just eat it in cash, for sure.
Outside Shai, is there anyone else you're looking at? Because we're going to see people having to play more minutes and get more usage.
Not that really popped for me. I think Diallo could probably run into some decent run, and he's kind of been a chucker his whole career. Outside of that, I think all these guys kind of just kind of cannibalize themselves, and they all kind of play, 20 to 22 minutes and similar usage rates and everything else. So it's just Shai for me.
Okay. To me, it's pretty much just Shai. But I do want to find out if, and I'm going to try this one, Alexei Pokasevsky is going to get a decent amount of run. If he is, without Horford there and just Mike Muscala there, who also Mike Muscala might, if he's going to see 30 minutes, he's a decent play. But if my guy AP is going to play some good minutes, I like him there. And that's probably it. Maybe if you really wanted to dig for Diallo, he does have the occasional outburst, but on a slate where you're going to find so much value, I don't really need to dig too much.
Right. Yeah, and the Poku play, he's that, I don't know if people weren't aware, he's the super young kid the Thunder drafted, the youngest player in the draft. He's kind of the quote-unquote next unicorn that always seems to be coming to the NBA but never actually happens. But he's a super long-term developmental project, so I don't know if they want to just throw him to the wolves and be like, okay, here's 25 preseason minutes.
Yeah, I don't think they will, but with so many people out, they might be forced to playing him that much. Right. That's the only reason I'm thinking of that. I don't think they will, but there might be a reason there, because there's 8 people are out.
Right, exactly.
Let's shoot on over to San Antonio, who doesn't have too many people out. They have Keldon Johnson probably won't play. None of these people are confirmed out, but they're just unlikely. Derek White, Lonnie Walker was dealing with a back injury. He's practicing again, but probably unlikely for this one. Witherspoon and Aldridge I have as a question mark just because of his age. But is there anybody on San Antonio that you're dialing in on, or with those people out, or are they pretty much what they are in the regular season?
I think I don't think Pop is gonna run the vets very much, if at all, in this first game. So DeRozan, Patty Mills, Rudy Gay, and Aldridge. I do think there's some opportunity with some of their younger wings out for a guy for their top rookie, Devin Vassell and Trey Jones, to get some serious run. So I like those guys at 4,400, both at 4,400. Dejounte Murray, I don't expect him to play huge minutes, but he's a guy who he fills it up in every stat category. So if you're looking for a more balanced build in tournaments, I really like Dejounte Murray. But mainly just those 2 rookies as really strong value plays.
Yeah, and I'm with you. I think that with those wings out already pretty much out, and you're not expecting Aldridge or DeRozan to play, probably not Patty Mills or Rudy Gay. If they do play, no more than the teens minutes. I do like Vessel. He should get a chance right out the gate. I'd also like Trey Jones that you mentioned, and Luka Samanic, who they probably want to take over as the power forward of the future. Those guys, I think, should see a pretty good run right out of the gate in this one, and they are young enough to handle the minutes, and that's what Pop. I think that's what they're going to go with in this first one. Yeah.
I mean, it wouldn't be surprising if Aldridge and DeRozan and all their veterans, until their very last game, that they just kind of took it easy until that last preseason game before the regular season.
Yeah, and they might even rule them out before the game starts. But if they don't, I don't expect they're not going to run them too much.
Right. Exactly.
Right, man. Before we get into the next one, I want to bring up one of our other sponsors, and that is Manscaped. And I know you guys talked about Manscaped, and we're getting to the holidays, and Manscaped is a great gift for one of your loved ones. We still have the Lawnmower 3.0, and it comes inside a brand new Perfect Package 3.0, which makes for the perfect gift this holiday season. It's literally everything you need to keep trimmed, cut-free, and smelling nice down there. You don't want to use the same trimmer on your face that you're using on your downstairs, because that's just nasty. So if you're gonna order a couple, you might want to order a couple for that loved one for you. And the Perfect Package 3.0 also includes the Crop Preserver, an anti-chafing ball deodorant and moisturizer. You already put deodorant on your armpits. Why not start putting that deodorant on the smelliest part of your body? And yes, your balls stink, guys. Speaking of sweaty balls and stinky balls, I am thankful for their Crop Reviver. This product, along with the Crop Preserver, keeps your balls from sweating, smelling, sticking. Something Apatria always complains about, and I hope he hears that one. All these products smell good, guys, and their manly scent is attractive and will help you set the mood, if you know what I mean. So go on down to manscaped.com and enter the promo code HoopBall20 and get 20% off of any order, the totality of the order, and then you get free shipping as well. So manscaped.com and enter the...
If you're a defender fighting to protect your organization from cyber attackers, you must be successful ending attacks every single time. They only need to be successful once. Cyber Reason reverses the attacker's advantage. Our future-ready attack platform gives defenders the wisdom to uncover, understand, and piece together multiple threats, and the precision focus to end cyber attacks instantly. Together, we are the defenders. Cyber Reason. End cyber attacks. From endpoints to everywhere. Learn more at cyberreason.com. That's CYBEREASON.com.
Legacy CRM platforms have made you compromise for far too long. With HubSpot's CRM platform, you don't have to choose between enterprise tools that are powerful or easy to use. It gives you both, so your marketing, sales, and service teams can align with ease, accelerate sales, and anticipate every customer need. Finally, there's a CRM platform that helps you run better so you can grow better, without complexity ever getting in the way. Learn more at HubSpot.com.
Promo code HoopBall20 and clean up your nuts and make Santa proud this year. All right, buddy. So let's get back onto the back half. We did the 7 o'clocks. We got a couple more games left. This one is Dallas and Milwaukee, and the two guys we expect to be leading most, if not all, slates when we start the regular season in Dallas and Milwaukee. But we have a couple people confirmed out: Porzingis, Courtney Lee, and James Johnson. Doesn't seem like he's going to play. He's been hurt lately. But for Milwaukee, there is nobody listed yet. But let's start with the Mavs. Are you able to play Luka on this, or is there anybody else that you're looking at on this Mavs team?
Yes, very much able to play Luka. Just without Porzingis, just the guy just controls everything with the offense. Last year, 14 games without Kristaps, he was 27 points per game, 9.6 rebounds, 8.2 assists on 56% true shooting, and then just an unbelievable 36.5% usage rate. You can't beat those rates just with maybe James Harden. That's roughly about it. And for 8,700, again, we don't expect him to play more than probably 25 minutes. But, it would not surprise me in the slightest that, Luka was the top raw points producer on the slate. So, I think he's my top play on the slate. I think some people will be scared off by the Bucks defense as well. So especially in tournaments, I think there may be a little bit of an ownership edge there if people get scared off of the Bucks defense. But, if I get 25 Luka minutes, that's more than enough for me.
Yeah, and I think you said it right on the money. I don't even have to repeat that. Don't be afraid of Luka unless you get the notification that he's only going to play minutes in the teens. If he's playing 20 to 25 minutes or more all day, I mean, it's Luka. Yeah. And without Porzingis, even though they added Josh Richardson and Dwight Powell's back, they're not going to command the usage that Luka does. It's just he's going to be a monster, pretty much. Yep. Speaking of Dwight Powell, I don't think he's going to play too many minutes in the preseason. They're saying he's already back after that Achilles injury, so kudos to him. But he's a guy I might target in the regular season.
Yeah, I think especially if Kristaps misses some time early in the regular season, he's a really good lob threat with with Luka, and they don't have too much behind him, honestly. Where I think he'll be kind of a really good value play, probably getting the 28 to 29 minute per game range, which you'll take for sure.
Yeah, there's really not much else for me on the Mavs, unless we get the notification that Boban's going to be getting 25 minutes or Jalen Brunson's going to be getting most of the run. Then I'd look at them, but outside of that, it's a crapshoot for those guys, so I'm going to leave them be as well. But how about Milwaukee? You already mentioned the Giannis thing before. Can you look at Giannis and what we know of Coach Bud? He doesn't play his guys a full complement of minutes in playoff games, so I can't imagine that anybody's going to even eclipse 25 minutes in a preseason game. Never mind the first. So, what do you make of the most frustrating fantasy coach in the league?
Yeah, I think. Again, Giannis is only $9,000. So unless we get word in the morning, I'm going to expect him to probably be around 22 to 23 minutes, which that seems reasonable with maybe a 7-minute in the first quarter, 7-minute, 6 to 7 minutes in the second quarter. Probably the same rotation in the third, and then maybe he sits out the fourth quarter, something like that. But he's the best fantasy asset, DFS fantasy asset on DraftKings. Just the way how quickly he accumulates points, and all we care about is raw points. So, and he's affordable. You can fit him in just about any construction you want. So I'm not scared off by it. I think 20 to 22 minutes is a fairly reasonable minutes projection. I'm not expecting anything close to 28 to 30 minutes, but he's easily a guy, especially without Kristaps' rim protection. There's a lot of opportunity here in this up-tempo matchup for him to be over 2 fantasy points per minute.
Yeah. To me, I can't really trust anybody outside of Giannis without more information because Coach Bud is just Coach Bud. Normally, if DiVincenzo was coming off the bench, I'd like him, but he's integral part of the rotation, especially this year. So I don't trust anybody but Giannis. But for Giannis, I do trust him. The guy only played 30.4 minutes per game in the regular season last year.
Crazy.
And he was one of the best. He probably was the best, besides maybe Harden, the best dollar for dollar, pound for pound guy on any given slate. And now you're telling me that nobody's really going to eclipse 30. That's elite, and he might see 20 to 22, unless they say he's not playing the second half. Then I have to be on Giannis for this one, because if he has an even playing field of minutes compared to the other elite guys, he is the guy to go after.
Yeah, I mean that's the way to look at it too. Where if you can pay $9K for Giannis, or you can pay we'll get to the game a little later, but $8K for D'Angelo Russell, 8.2 for Steph Curry, 8.5 for Ja Morant, where none of these guys we expect to be, like you said, anywhere over 30 minutes. Mm-hmm. So you have an eclipsed pricing structure and an eclipsed minutes, floor ceiling, where everyone's kind of going to be in that, probably 20 to 28 minutes for all the stud guys. It's it just doesn't make sense not to play the two best fantasy players on the slate.
Yeah, and if unless we get the word that he's not playing the second half and he's on an equal-ish minutes field comparatively, then it just he gets the biggest bonus of anybody kind of in the preseason, knowing that I'm not gonna spend up to pay for Giannis and he's only playing 30 when other superstars like a Damian Lillard is playing 39. Now we're all playing the same amount of minutes. I'm gonna take Giannis.
Agreed.
Yeah. All right, man. Let's go on to the second game at 8:00. That is the Memphis Grizzlies and the Minnesota Timberwolves. The Memphis Grizzlies account on Twitter threw out a bunch of people that are out for them or doubtful or questionable. They have Killian Tilly, Triple J, and Justice Winslow all out. Porter, Michael Porter's little brother, Brandon Clark, both doubtful. Melton and Kyle A as questionable. That's a pretty most of them probably, I'm assuming both doubtful guys and both questionable guys probably won't play. So that's another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That could be 7 guys out. That's OKC situation with the Grizzlies. Well, what are you seeing here? And are you is there any value here on guys that you like because of other people are missing, or do you stick with the big guys over here?
Their value guys are a little tough to decipher, even with all these people out. They just kind of have a lot of bodies that they can throw, especially in the big man slots. They have Xavier Tillman, Gorgie Jang, Anthony Tolliver. So it's a little bit of a mess for me down at, in terms of replacing. But the guy I really want to key on is Valanciunas, where his normal minutes expectation is around 20, this 20 to 25 range anyway. So now you're getting all these guys out who might steal some of his usage, and this is just the Jonas Valanciunas special where he gets 22 minutes and he scores 42 fantasy points. Especially in this really soft matchup against Minnesota, where Towns is listed, questionable. I think it's a great way to potentially differentiate where, people might be looking elsewhere, where they might not want to pay that 7.5K tag, but this is kind of just what he does. He just produces huge fantasy outputs on short minutes. So I'm definitely keying in on Valanciunas, and then Ja Morant. He just saw a huge minutes boost in the bubble. He was up to 37.9 minutes in the bubble. I think there's some possibility that he is one of the higher minutes expectation guys on the slate, especially in terms of the studs. So, as kind of we were just talking, Ja Morant might be a guy who gets, 30, 31 minutes compared to Steph Curry, who gets, 20 to 21 minutes. So I think there could be a real edge there. I really like Ja Morant in tournaments as kind of a less popular pivot to a guy like Luka or Giannis.
Yeah, I like that. And I like Valanciunas too, unless we hear some news that he's not going to play too much minutes. You're right. He doesn't play too many minutes in the regular season anyway. So now he's going to be kind of like the Giannis factor. He's going to be closer to an equal playing field of minutes expectation comparatively to the other people. So I like him there too. Other people are like, because this is a great matchup for anybody during the season. If you're playing Minnesota, they just want to be decent at defense, and that's a win for them. So this is a great matchup for guys. I don't mind playing if we don't expect Jang to play a lot. If we don't expect Valanciunas to play a lot, that means Jang's going to get even more minutes. We already don't have Clark at Triple J. I don't mind Jang there, but we have to see if we hear anything before the season, before the slate kicks off. Grayson Allen should be playing a good amount of minutes, and also Dylan Brooks too, who are fairly cheaper and they're shooting guards. We're saying a lot of point guards too, so I'm trying to move it on. Just because Ja's obviously a really good play as well. But I also like, if you wanted to pivot off of him, Dylan Brooks and Grayson Allen should be getting some shots in this one too, as long as they're all playing. So I think there's a decent amount to like on this Memphis team and anybody playing Minnesota moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a good up-tempo spot. Just kind of if you just look at the way Ja plays, he wants to get up and down the floor, and Minnesota doesn't play defense. Russell, they have a bunch of young wings, and who all really excel in transition. So yeah, it's just a really good up-tempo spot where there should be a lot of possessions in this game.
Yeah, and flipping on over to the Minnesota side, who they don't play defense, but they get the popcorn stats for defense, which is just funny. It's like the Hassan Whiteside factor. But their offense is one of the fastest running teams in the league, and it's just up tempo, shoots a bunch of threes, or gets to the free throw line. It's very good and fun offense. Is there anybody in here that you're liking? To me, before I jump over to you, we have Naz Reid as out. Towns is questionable, and Beasley, I'm pretty sure, is playing as well. But for me, I like all the guards in this one. Edwards should see a good amount of minutes. Russell, Rubio, they probably want to get a decent amount just to integrate him into the offense. And Beasley, if he does play, should get a ton of shots in this one. So I like a lot of the guards in this one.
Yeah, just kind of touch on the offense real quick. I think getting Rubio back as kind of the lead ball handler and letting Russell kind of just operate more in that off guard, off playmaker, just kind of the scoring role, which I think is his best attribute. I think it's just going to do wonders for the offense, and it just makes it far more dangerous. So they're definitely going to be a team we want to look out for heading into the season. But for this game, kind of the one guy I'm focusing in on is Anthony Edwards at 4,700. It's just a great spot to showcase him, why they took him number one. Again, kind of as we've been saying all podcast, he's a rookie with very little prep time, playing time. It wouldn't surprise me if he's mid to upper 20s, maybe even hits that 30-minute mark. Just for 4,700, just the way he profiles as a player, he's going to be a guy who puts up a lot of shots. So he's my play. And he does fill a small forward spot, which we're definitely looking for with so many guards on this slate.
Yeah, I like that. 1 second. And if you want to highlight how good this team, they were the fastest pace in the league last year. They were only expecting to play faster, the Wolves, and they shot in the top three and threes, free throws. A lot of very friendly, DFS friendly, fantasy friendly stats are attributed to this team. So there's going to be a lot of good things to come out there. And I think, like you said, I think they drafted Edwards, even though they traded for Rubio. They have Russell. They just signed Beasley. I think they want to showcase him right out of the gate.
Yep.
Let's jump on to the Denver Nuggets versus the Golden State Warriors. Two very high teams in here. For the injury report, we have Will Barton. I have him as doubtful. I don't think he's he's just like doing contact work. I doubt he's playing. James Wiseman and Draymond Green, I don't think they're going to play too. They just got back to practice, so they shouldn't even be playing. And if they do, they're going to see minutes in the single digits. So let's start off with the Nuggets. And they made a deep playoff run, and they played a lot of games in that bubble. So to me, I think they're going to play they have so much depth. They're going to be playing a lot of depth here. But what is your take with this Nuggets team?
Yeah, I think you said it. It wouldn't be surprising at all if the starters only played the first half and then they just turned it over to some of their younger guys on the bench, like a PJ Dozier or a Bol, that kind of thing. With Jokic, again, we're looking for raw points, and if he does end up playing the whole game and he gets to that 20-22 minute mark, he's definitely capable of putting up a massive game. But I think there's better spend spots than Jokic on the slate. It would be different in tournaments to play him over a Giannis or a Luka at the same price point, but I just think there's other ways we can be different than playing Jokic over those guys. For me, the big value is the guy they've kind of been talking up is PJ Dozier. Just all the reports out of camp saying he's kind of been he's been the training camp MVP. You know, he had really, really good minutes for them in the bubble and the playoffs. This seems just like an excellent spot for them to kind of turn the team over to him in the second half and let him go, sort of a situation. So he profiles as one of the best values on the slate.
Yep, and I'm with you there. The three people I listed, you said two of them already. PJ Dozier is the first guy I'm on, and it's just because I don't think they're going to play their starters the second half. I don't think they're going to play many of the people. Even Monte Morris, I don't think is going to see too many minutes because all of these guys played a deep playoff run. So I see RJ Hampton probably plays, but I'm not really looking at him. I would target PJ Dozier for the reasons you said, Bol for the reasons of seeing extended minutes and what he did in the last time we had the practices before the bubble, those preseason bubble games. He was going off, so I like him there. He's probably going to get similar run and similar showcase spots at multiple positions. And then the last guy, I'm trying to prepare for this name here. This first name, Facundo Campazzo. I think I did it well.
Okay,
but
nice.
I think he's I think he's going to see a good amount of playing time at multiple spots too, both on and off the ball. So those are three guys I'm looking at, but mainly Dozier and then Bol, just because he showed the ability to fill the stat sheet up against other backups last time he played, and I expect the Warriors to play a lot of backups too.
Yeah, agreed. It's just the best way to approach the team. You know, it's just hard to see them playing any of their main guys more than 20 minutes. If that.
Yeah, and then with that said, let's jump right into the Golden State Warriors, who Kerr already said that Curry's going to play in the 24-minute range. He won't play. He's probably not going to pass a full half, which is 24 minutes. So what do we see here? We don't have Wiseman. We don't have Draymond. We don't have Thompson. We have Curry for about 24 minutes. I'm probably going to assume that most of these guys, after the injuries they dealt with and seeing Klay Thompson go down, I'm going to say that he's going to be very cautious with his minutes here.
Yeah, it's Steph's first game back in a long time. He says 24 minutes. It wouldn't surprise me if it was closer to 17 or 18. It's one of those things where, maybe you can mix them in larger field tournaments, but, for smaller tournaments or cash games, I don't think I would go there with him. Just better ways to spend your money where you don't need to incur that risk. And just thinking about it logically, it's why would they rush Steph right back into, mid-20s, upper 20s minutes? They're just not going to do it. For me, with the Warriors, I'm looking towards kind of the backup big battle. With Marquise Chris, Eric Pascal, and Kevin Looney. I think there potentially you could find some value with some of these guys. Chris was a pretty decent fantasy player last year. He's a little more expensive than I'd like at 5,500, but again, if he's getting into that 25, 26 minute range, that's about all we can ask for a guy who's a really good fantasy producer. So I think those are probably the three guys I'm looking at on the Warriors.
Yeah, and I like that. I like that call, especially with two of their starting bigs out. Someone's going to have to play a decent amount of role there. So I like those two. If I had to throw in one more on top of the two guys you said, Brad Wanamaker should see a pretty good chunk with Curry probably not playing more than, like you said, he might play 17 minutes, so Brad Wanamaker might be running this offense very extended run, and then they might play him together with him for a little bit. So he would be another guy I would look at, but I would need to see more clarity on what Kerr plans to do before the game starts, which we would be checking on before tomorrow.
Yep, agreed.
All right. So before we get in this last one, I just want to let everybody know a couple things that we have going on at Hoop Ball. Everybody, quickly, we need to pause the show for this announcement, and it's a fun one. It's free stuff. Everyone loves free stuff, right?
Everyone does.
Everyone does. And Aaron, do you know what the free stuff is?
I actually don't. I don't think I do.
All right. Well, it's the Bruise Letter, because the Bruise Letter is back. And it's back, it's fresh, and It's for the 2020-2021 NBA season. And the Bruise Letter is from our founder, Aaron Bruschi. It's a writing email newsletter that's filled with the most intimate fantasy nuggets that you can imagine. It's exclusive content that you can't find anywhere else. And it's not on the website, guys. It's not on any podcast. It's not on any social media. It's only in the email newsletter. And you can sign up to get this for free. Again, for free. Just go to the bit.ly/Bruise Letter 2021 and sign up in 20 seconds. Again, the site is bit.ly/Bruise Letter 2021, and Aaron Bruschi, straight to your inbox, and enjoy. Again, it's free, and you're not going to find this anywhere else but this newsletter. And one more, the Fantasy Pass, guys. And this is where you can connect with us on Discord and a bunch of other different things, all our articles, whatnot. Hoopball is a great website, guys, and we all love content. And we love the content that exists, but Hoopball needs to keep the lights on. So for a few weeks every year, we sell stuff. And this year, the best deal in fantasy is here at Hoopball, and it's called the Fantasy Pass. It's just $4.99 a month, and it gets you the entire draft guide, the Brewski 150, our DFS pass, and all in-season fantasy tools, only for $4.99. All that stuff. So cook yourself a dinner tonight inside of ordering delivery, and you can afford the Fantasy Pass for a half a year. So please do check it out. Head to hoopball-.com. I forgot about the dash in there. That always gets me. And click on the Fantasy Pass ad just below the main media wall. And if you wanted just the DFS pass, $2 per month. $2. For a measly $2, you can get everything the DFS team has to offer. But for an extra $3, you get everything with the Fantasy Pass as well. Can't miss stuff, guys. But now that we're done with that, let's jump into this last game before we head on out of here. And this one might be a quicker one. We have the last game that starts at 9 p.m. That is the Phoenix Suns versus the Utah Jazz, the new look Phoenix Suns. We have Jamison Crowder, Jamison. I'm thinking of NFL right there. Jay Crowder as doubtful. And I heard two nuggets today that Booker and Ayton are going to play approximately 18 minutes. They shouldn't be playing more than 20 minutes. So that's going to be a big shift in what we do with the Suns. And for the Jazz, Bogdanovic thinks he's going to be ready for the start of the season, but he will not be playing tomorrow. They haven't ruled him out, but I can't imagine. And Shaq Harrison said he hurt his wrist and he should be back soon, but he's not going to be playing as well. Let's start with the Suns, and let's start with the Jazz and go back to that big news later, because Booker and Ayton is huge news. What are you thinking about the Jazz? For me, it's one of the teams that I don't think, out of all the teams that made the playoffs, I don't think they're going to be ones to rest them, and that's just a hunch that they're going to be playing their guys similarly normal. Obviously, everybody's going to be playing a little less than usual, but I see Mitchell and Gobert playing a good amount of minutes, and I kind of like them here. I think if one of the teams is going to play their guys closer to 30 that made the bubble, this is the team that I think might be playing 30, 31 minutes or so.
Yeah, and especially because just the way their team is constructed, they don't really have any like developmental guys, like the like the Nuggets in contrast, they have 3 or 4 young guys at the end of their bench that that can soak up most of the fourth quarter minutes. With the Jazz, it's like Gorgeous Young, Morgan. They just drafted They just drafted Azubuike, their center. Yeah. I mean, just really nothing they have invested in young guys. So I think that's a good call. I don't think nobody's going to get overly extended, but Donovan Mitchell at 7,300, he's a really good price discount from a lot of the other team studs. So you're getting a pretty big price gap between him and everyone else. And if you think he gets to 30 around 30 minutes, there can be an edge there, I think, for sure.
Yeah. And is there anybody else besides those two guys that you'd be looking at on the Jazz? To me, it's not really right now. I'm just not looking really at the Jazz besides those two, because I think they're going to play a decent amount. But how about yourself?
No, just I think there's better spots to go.
Yeah.
I'm not, Clarkson at 4,600, is a decent, if he gets 20 minutes, he can put up 20 shots in 20 minutes, kind of a deal. But I think there's just better spots we can look.
Yeah, and I like Clarkson at 4,600 if this was a regular season game, more so, but not in the preseason. There's so much value out there that I don't really need it per se, because he's a crucial part of the rotation. So he's probably not going to play. If they do tend to rest people, he's probably going to be one that gets rested as well.
Agreed.
How about this Phoenix Suns team that we know Booker and Ayton probably cap out around 20, or with the coach saying they're going to play about 18 minutes.
Have they said anything on Chris Paul or not quite?
That I haven't heard anything yet on Chris Paul, but I'm going to assume that he's either sitting out or in the same amount of treatment, that they're not going to be playing him too much. But they just said Booker and Ayton right now.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't imagine he's very much more than those guys. That'd be a little strange.
Yeah,
but,
right.
Yeah, I mean, two guys who really stood out, their price tags were guys really key contributors in the bubble for them. Cam Johnson at 4,500 and Mikal Bridges at 4,600. These guys were both playing really, really big minutes in the bubble. They're two young guys. They're two of the younger guys on the team. Maybe Phoenix really takes this opportunity to say, you guys run the second half and you kind of offensive front see those two guys, and they end up with really decently high usage for maybe 27, 28 minutes a game for this game. So those two guys really stood out as kind of prime value plays, just knowing that we can expect a real role for them, and they're kind of priced with all the new rookies and guys we really aren't sure on within the rest of the slate.
Yeah, and I'm with you too. Those are the two main guys that I'm looking at on this team. We're expecting the two highest usage guys to play 18 minutes. Jay Crowder's questionable. He's going to be their starting power forward. And Chris Paul, there's going to be news before the game start on Chris Paul, whether he's playing 10 minutes or so. So definitely Mikal Bridges and Cam Johnson are going to get some good run here. And there's got to be someone else down low that gets the minutes. Maybe they split it between Damian Jones and their draft pick and Jalen Smith. But I kind of like the Jalen Smith upside. Maybe they just throw him to the fire with 25 minutes or so. With Ayton sitting out and Crowder possibly sitting out, Sarik's a veteran. He doesn't need too much time. Somebody's got to soak up those front court minutes. And if we get news on if it's going to be Jalen Smith, first man off the bench, or Damian Jones, I don't mind those plays there either.
Yeah, I think and Jalen Smith does come with power forward and center eligibility, which, kind of if hopefully our listeners have caught on, we've been talking a lot about power forward, point guards, shooting guards, and centers. Mm-hmm. So anytime you can get, a power forward or a wing on this slate, it's probably going to be a pretty good value. Yep,
definitely agree with that one. The multiple eligibility of players is very good, and something that only DraftKings lets you do, because FanDuel is not apt to letting people have multiple eligibilities. All right, man. So that would be it for our nice game slate. We're going to tend to cut these down shorter as we go. This was our first one back, and I'm excited to start talking basketball again. I know it's the second day of the preseason, but I'm excited to get this going. And less than 2 weeks, we will be talking on a live podcast for live basketball. Whoa, that's not live. I said live basketball. I'm so excited about it. The start of the regular season basketball, because this is still live basketball, but basketball that matters and counts in the record books and the stands. This is going to be exciting. Do you want to say anything before we head on out of here about this show and about moving forward?
Yeah, I think the big thing I was really excited about to see was that we added the Discord this season to, so we can talk easier with listeners and people who subscribe to, our content. And for me, that was really the big leap I took. Was I got involved with different Discords on different sites and started, chatting with a few people and, guys who I have a similar, mindset with, and guys who I still work with today to build lineups and work through the slate. And it's just really elevated my game. It's probably become my most valuable tool in terms of DFS building and process, and just overall analyzing the slate is just working with other people. So I'd really encourage everyone to get involved with the Discord, because we all plan to be in there quite a bit, answering questions and, interacting with you guys and, helping you build through different tournament teams. And I think that's one of the most valuable tools you can have when you subscribe to a content website. So I think the Discord is definitely something I'm excited about, and am looking forward to interacting with everybody a little bit on a closer basis.
Yeah, and it's going to be fun. It's going to be in the hour before tip-off, so we're going to be giving you guys our news and tidbits while we want to also be changing our lineups, but we're going to be giving that attention to you guys, which is awesome. And also with that Discord, that's going to be 7 days a week, and that should be starting next week, but definitely by the regular season. We also will be one of us who are on the Discord at any given time on a day during that 1 hour before tip. We're going to be jumping on a live podcast, video podcast that Hoopball is putting up on their site, the TV site, and we're going to be talking about the quick questions, quick hitters that are coming in, who we like, who we don't. 5-10 minutes on there, and then we'll be also on the Discord. Other guys on the Discord. So we're definitely going to be coming at you with a lot of different and exciting new content this year, along with 7 days of layup lines. Last year we were doing the layup lines only in the weekdays, but we're now doing it on the weekends as well. And then, as always, our 7 days of podcasts. So there's a lot of content to go around. We're not making any shortcuts, cutting any corners here. We're trying to give you guys the best edges possible and be there for you every step of the way. And I know Aaron, tonight, he's going to be writing you guys an article for tomorrow's website. He's going to be doing the layup line, and I love this layup lines last year, and I'm excited to continue reading that. And yeah, it's going to be a fun season, guys. Get ready for some basketball. Awesome. So before we go, I want to thank everybody for joining us. And on behalf of Hoopball, I'm Santino Caccone. Aaron Asmus, you want to tell them where they can find you on Twitter or anywhere on social media, etc.?
Yeah, I'm at Asmus Sports, ASMUS, SPORTS on Twitter.
Awesome, and I'm at my name. So we will see you guys around and on the Discord for the most part. Have a good one. And tomorrow, Mike Apatra will be making his 2020-2021 season debut on the podcast. Good luck, and hope that there's not too many crazy things that change during tip-off time. Have a good one, guys.
This has been a Hoopball presentation.
What does it take to end cyber attacks? At Cyber Reason, we can tell you exactly what it takes. It takes an army of battle-tested defenders on a mission. Defenders who fight foes that operate under the cover of digital darkness. Defenders who think, move, and adapt faster than cyber attackers. Defenders with the technology and effortless automation to spot and attack forming on computers, mobile devices, servers, and the cloud, and alert you when it matters most. To end cyber attacks, it takes the brightest minds in global cyber intelligence working to deliver future-ready protection to guard your data wherever the fight moves. Cyber Reason is ready to win the battle with you and for you. In the fight to end cyber attacks, we are the defenders. Join us to reverse the adversary attacks with proactive protection against ever-evolving threats. Cyber Reason. End cyber attacks from endpoints to everywhere. Learn more at cyberreason.com. That's CYBEREASON.com.